We focus our data trackers, of course, on SMART goals. Our data trackers have to be specific to the content area, measurable. We want to have a goal that is measurable to the student, that they can track themselves and understand that measure. Something that is attainable, and I'll show you in a minute what I mean by attainable. That the student doesn't feel that it's something that they cannot get to and then get discouraged. And that's what I mean by building relationships. We build relationships by making goals that the kids feel comfortable with and that they're able to attain, to get to. And then relevant. We want to make these data trackers relevant. Why am I doing iStation? Well, because this is a tool that's going to help you with your metacognition, with your reading skills. Okay? And so let me show you the areas that you're lacking. Okay? And timely. We want to make sure, so by doing these iStation data trackers, we're doing it on a monthly basis, but we're meeting and conferencing with students every Thursday. Okay? So it's timely. They know that it's something that's occurring frequently, and it's not something that we do one day and then we drop it and then we do it at the end of the year. Then that's not measurable. We're not attaining goals, and it's not relevant, and the kids are disengaged. Okay, and you'll see the beautiful conversations in a minute that go on virtually when we're talking about data trackers. Okay, so we've given ourselves a name. Our RTI groups, we call ourselves the crewmates. And so we gave ourselves a name because we didn't want to give a negative connotation to our groups. So we call ourselves crewmates. Now, you know, in iStation, I divided the kids by cycles. They're different skills that the kids are performing within the cycles. You know that at the lower cycles, they're basic skills, very basic skills. So the next level descriptors, these kids are working on very basic skills, below basic skills. Even though their Lexile level might be at a 500, these are the skills that they need to be working on specifically in order to make growth. If they're at a Human EX, now notice how the metacognition rigor increases. Okay, so the skills are a little bit more difficult. The metacognition increases. And then as we go through the higher cycles, notice the metacognition, we have more skills. The vocabulary skills are even more difficult. So we've got to understand that. So we've got to understand the different cycles and the different skills that we need to be working on with the kids as they're in these cycles. Okay, so if you notice, this is an iStation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this chart because this has to do with the data trackers that we created. So in RTI, or our teachers know that if they have a tier 3 student, okay, our goal is to get them to a tier 2. We know that it's very difficult to jump from a tier 3 to a tier 1. It's just too difficult to jump. So when we create our data trackers, our goals are for our kids to jump from a tier 3 to a tier 2. So we take into consideration these numbers. Now we know that's not going to occur in a month. It might take a couple of months, but that's what I mean by attainable goals. We don't expect our tier 3s to become a tier 1, to jump from that number to that specific number. So we look at these numbers to make attainable goals for the kids based on where they're at. And so if you look up here, these are tabs. And you'll see in a minute how these numbers, how I took these numbers, or we take these numbers and put them on our data trackers. There's 3 different versions that we use. So the tabs mean overall reading, reading comprehension, word analysis, and each one of these areas in reading have an average, okay, an average per tier, okay, vocabulary, text fluency, and oral reading fluency. So we've taught our kids to access the summary report. They know how to get to their summary report. They know how to read this. It takes time. So in a minute, you'll see how we use the summary report in our data tracker and how they graph their data and the kind of conversations that our kiddos have. So they know how to access this. They know how to look at their Lexile level. They know how to look at their average, their tier average. They know that these are the months. So they've learned how to read these summary reports. It takes a little bit of muddling. And again, we do this on Thursdays. So this has been done since the beginning of the year. So this is our iStation data tracker. And so this is one way of filling the data tracker. So the student can go in, put the number, and put the tier they're in. Now, why is this important? This informs the student and the teacher on their performance as far as what they need more help on. So if I'm looking at this student, I can see that this student was at a tier 2, in fluency at a tier 3, and as the years progressing, look at this. But I still know that this particular student is lagging. It's a little bit behind. It's a tier 2, which is not bad, in comprehension. So I know when I work with this student, I need to really focus on metacognition, and maybe I can do a breakout room within a room and work on a few kids a week on metacognition, thinking about their thinking. Or when I tailor my lessons, I need to make sure, give them time to think about their thinking. Any questions so far? I'm gonna go in depth on this, okay? So this is one way. So the student can fill their data tracker, and then again, every month. So you would have a conferencing, and in a minute, I'll show you how a teacher is taking a student through filling their data tracker. So you can see a live example. Okay, this is their Lexile level data tracker. Important, because as a student and as a teacher, I need to know where my students' Lexile levels are, so that when I pick literature that I'm gonna roll out for my lessons, I know exactly what Lexile level more or less I need to focus on. Or if I'm going to do my choice boards, I need to know the Lexile levels. And I'm not gonna, for example, I'm not gonna promote them on the choice board, but I know that I have to give different choices. And I maybe will say, Juanito and so, you're doing, this choice, this board. And so, you're doing this other choice board. And so, you're doing this other board. And so I know that if these kids need more metacognition, this choice board is going to focus on that. These kids need practice in fluency. Okay, I'm going to include fluency on their choice board plus the metacognition. So this is a way for you to kind of understand and tailor your choice boards based on the student's needs. Now, this is an actual live report that you see here. Okay, and so again, nice and colorful. The other one was kind of fussy. Again, you kind of begin to see the overall reading, how this, because of what we're going through, COVID and virtual, and the fact that the kids are not reading as much, we're going to see declines. That's a given. But we can still work on these areas that the kids are declining and put a lens and a focus. So we're going to take this information, and I'm going to show you, if you notice, this student overall started here. Now in November is here. Text fluency, not too bad. Reading comprehension, boom. Word analysis, can analyze words, but knowledge of vocabulary, declining. So what does this look like in a chart? It looks like this. And let me explain what I'm doing with my RTI kids. I went ahead and put their tier 3s. I went ahead and put the averages for tier 2. Measurable, attainable goals. I will not put the numbers for tier 1 because I don't want my kids to feel like they're never going to reach that goal. I don't want them to feel that way. I want them to feel like, okay, Short, attainable goals. I can get to a tier 2. I'm going to work towards getting to a tier 2. So these are tier 2 specific grade level averages. And then these are the students' averages here. So from the report. So again, September was here, October, November. And if you notice, these change. Why do they change? It's because we expect them to grow, so the numbers are going to increase by month. Now, you might only have to do this for one report and then, push it out because they're all tier 3s. Or if you have in your classroom, you might have to make one for a tier 3 and you'll put the tier 2 goals, and then another one for your tier 1s, because of course you want, so you might need different numbers, or you might just want to have the kids fill it up. It's up to you all. Okay. But I want you to notice something. This is an actual student started as a tier 1 across the board, September, and then notice October. Notice. So if I'm the teacher, I know that this student has become a tier 3 overall. But what are the areas that I need, or the choice boards that I need to focus on with this student? Comprehension and vocabulary. Oh, this student can read beautifully, can analyze words. But does this student know what they're reading? This student does not understand, does not comprehend, cannot think about her thinking. So I've got to give her opportunities within a choice board, or meeting, on a separate meet, or the way I work with the kids doing the breakouts, and address her comprehension needs and her vocabulary needs. So this is informative for the planning. This is information for your planning. This is information for how to group your kids. This is information for how to create your choice boards. It's a plethora of information to kind of help you create your boards. Let me stop for a minute. Do you have any questions? Did I go too fast? No? Are we okay? And notice how this particular one, okay, I know I have something on the chat box. Let me look. Okay, sounds good. Good. I don't want to get anybody lost. Okay, so this is the type of choice board, again, that I use with my RTI kiddos. And in a minute, I'll also show you a lesson and what it looks like virtually when I work with my kids through RTI. Okay, and so again, here we see the iStation Lexile level. Again, important for the student and the teacher for informational purposes on how to create your choice boards, or how to differentiate the activities for the students, and how to group the kiddos. So important too. At my campus, I know our kids are not reading as much. They don't have choices. They used to go to the library, and they used to do Scholastic, and they used to have choices on what they wanted to read. So what I did is I wrote a grant. And so this piece here is important for me because I'm purchasing level readers from Scholastic, digital level readers for the kids by their choice. Okay, these are, the kids will go in, they put the things they like to read, and it'll bring up the books based on the reading levels. So I'm purchasing that for the teachers. And so this information is important for me and for the teachers as we go on and we kind of have kids access those books. So I'm working on that too. And so now you're going to get an actual live, you'll see what it looks like when a teacher's conferencing virtually. Again, what's happening here is you'll see the rest of the students have gone off every Thursday. They do faithfully an iStation lesson. So they're off doing an iStation lesson. This teacher has created another meet, dropped the meet in the chat box. So this student went to that meet and they're meeting one-on-one. And this is done every Thursday. They meet, within about 45 minutes, they can probably get maybe 5, 6 I don't know, depends, more students in. Once you get the data tracker up and running, the conferencing, I mean, the minutes that you take to conference with the students should be less, so you'll be able to get more students in. But what I did is I went ahead and got a video graciously. One of my campus teachers graciously recorded the video, so you can see what it looks like guiding the students to fill their data tracker, okay? So you can see a live...
And we'll do colors in a little bit. We won't worry about that right now. Wait, okay, I'm going to open up yours here just to see it too. Okay. Yeah, you're too. All right. So then let's go ahead and go to, you did the word analysis right now? And you did the vocabulary already?
What was it?
Did you do the word analysis and the vocabulary?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's go ahead and skip to November.
November.
Yeah, let's go ahead and skip to November since we're using, we'll transfer all the information that we use, just that since we're using this one instead, it'll be better. So we'll go to November. And then here's where we're going to see how you've improved from November, or from September to now. It'll show us. Okay. All right, so okay, so in overall reading for November, you received a
2098.
Yeah, 2098. Mm-hmm. Okay.
2090.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that's wrong.
You're in the green, which is great. That's great.
And then after, and the next one was a
248. You have improved a lot in the fluency since September. We've gone up in the fluency. Okay, the comprehension, you got 2660. You really made improvements there. Like you've really gone up.
Wait, what was it?
2660.
2660.
We need to work on the word analysis because you're kind of doing like a little roller coaster a little bit. That could also be, you know, with the testing that we've had and the holidays, but we need to get, you know, back to growing in the word analysis. So you got a 2055 in the word analysis for November.
And then in fluency.
We're on the vocabulary right now, aren't we?
What?
We're doing vocabulary now, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so vocabulary.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you a little bit, but now you see what it looks like virtually, so that you kind of have to handle the iStation screen, and the student is looking at their summary report, and you see the back and forth with the kids. What did you say? I mean, you see the little tweaking that we have to do. So that's what it takes at the beginning to kind of help them, guide them through. But once they start filling it up, the conversations, I mean, it'll take less the conference with the kids. They have all their months filled up. They're just working on 1 month. They know how to access the summary report. They know what they're looking for. And then you can have in more depth conversations as to, well, Miss, I noticed my comprehension isn't growing. Well, yes, because these are the skills, you know, you're at this cycle. These are the skills you need to be working on. So then those conversations become more deep, more in depth. Do you have any questions so far? What did you all think? Yeah, you can unmute.
Will you be showing us where we can download all of these forms?
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna in just a little bit. I'm gonna let you go off and have some conversations. Share my presentation with you. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions before I move on? No? Do you want me to go over anything that you might be a little fussy over as to what I was? No? Okay, good. All right. And so,
And we'll do colors.
okay, so conferencing. So when we're conferencing with the students, we take into account attainable goals, relevant goals, measurable goals. And we target the students' needs, specific needs, so that they know what they need to work on and focus on. And think about how that's a game changer, because you're in the classroom, you're doing a lesson on inferencing. The student already knows, well, I'm low on comprehension, on metacognition. I better pay attention today because this refers to what my needs are. And you as a teacher also, you know exactly where your students are and how to tailor those choice boards to meet the needs of the different needs that you have in the classroom. Again, if these kids are on this cycle, then my choice board is going to be working on characterization. If my kids are at an upper cycle, okay, I need to be working on inferencing. I cannot get a student that's at a next level into a timeless tales. I need to work on these skills first before I get to these other skills. So that's a way to target student-specific needs. And then we're focused on growth, and we're manageable and content specific. We make sure that the conferencing is manageable and context specific. I mean, if you notice the conversation between the teacher and the student, and that was at the beginning of the year when you're trying to fill these data trackers. Now the conversations, are more geared to, well, you're not improving in comprehension. Perhaps the teacher can take some notes from my station because it gives you specific skills that the student is low on. And you can have a conversation and say, well, I noticed you open up your manual. I noticed that you're doing a lesson in summarization in iStation, and I notice you haven't been able to master that. Let's talk about that, okay? So the conferencing becomes more detailed. I'm not going to talk about the attendance tracker until we go off into groups. So now I'm going to have you go off into groups. And so here's some discussion roles. If we have enough people, if we can have a manager, the manager is going to be helping the group ensure that you stay focused on the conversation. We'll have a timekeeper. We have plenty of time. We'll have about 8 minutes to go off into breakout rooms and have a discussion about how you're going to incorporate, or how you might incorporate, a data tracker. If not this one, one that you think will fit the needs of your students. And then please have a presenter to kind of bring back some points of your conversation, your discussions. And then the reflector is going to help the group come to an agreement as to what is being discussed. And so I'm going to share this presentation with you. If we're going to have group, and actually it's A, B, C, and D, and so on. So if your last name starts with A through E, you'll be group 1. I'm about to share this. And then F through K, group 2. L to P, group 3. And then group 4 is Q through U. And then V through C is group 5. You're going to have stickies where you can put your notes for your discussion, so that way the presenter can come back and kind of go over some of the stickies. My question to you all is, what are some ways you can incorporate student data trackers at your campus? Okay, let me escape, put the presentation so that we can move on to our breakout groups. Here we go in the chat box. Please let me know. It is editable and it is viewable, so we should have no problems. Here you go. Please let me know if you cannot open the presentation, but there shouldn't be any problems. I just sent it to you all with a copy of the data trackers and all the notes. Wonderful. Once you're in there, let me look and see I'm going to be looking to see how we start moving into our groups. Wonderful. I see some people already moving. And I'm just going to, a word of caution, make sure you just hang up the little phone on this session. And then we have about 8 minutes. It is now 9:30. We'll come back at about 9:40, 9:38, 9:40. So we can kind of wrap up our conversations. So timekeeper. Please let me know if you're having a difficult time accessing or moving on to a group. I'll be glad to put the code in the chat box. Everyone okay? Ms. Chavez, are you okay? No? Okay. Ms. Chavez, let me put you in group number 1. Let me access the code. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat box, okay? Here we go. There you go, Ms. Chavez. And then Ms. Barraza, do you need help?
Yes, you told us to turn off
Yeah.
the
Yeah, turn off the microphone. Turn off, yeah, you can hang up the microphone and then, but leave it open. You'll see a tab at the top and then you move on to the other meet. And then when you finish talking, you can come back. You can simply just open it up again, rejoin. You want me to show you how to do that? Okay, Ms. Chavez, are you okay? All right, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute so I can go into the groups and listen. Okay, we're just waiting for people to come back. Let me go ahead and make sure. Give them another minute or two.
I think that should work
I think
too.
that would work.
Take a copy of like off of yours.
I know you're having wonderful conversations. Are you all ready to come back so we can debrief and see? Okay. I'm glad you're having these conversations. Wonderful. Okay. I'll see you back in a minute or two. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm busy. Okay. Okay, I'm glad you're all back. Thank you. Can you all hear me? Yes? Wonderful. So I'm going to look at your sticky so we can do, but as I was walking into the rooms, there were a couple of conversations that I kind of honed in on. So yes, we do put these data trackers in our ISN, and we do change the layout. Give me just a second. We do change the layout of what the data tracker, I think I might, oh, here we go. We do change the layout. So if you notice, we have these in our ISNs, and we change the layout of the page by going into File, Page Setup, and so we custom lay our pages, and so this is what it looks like. So that was one of the conversations I was listening to. And remember, these data trackers can be used however you want to do them. It's tailored to, it fits your thinking style, the way you want to work with your students. And so this is what it would look like for our kiddos. Now, another conversation I overheard was we have a lot of students, so how would we do that? Well, you know that you're going to meet more often with the students that have higher needs than with those that are at a tier 1. I mean, you want to touch base with them maybe once a month, because they're doing well. You're going to meet more often with the ones that need more of your help. And how you meet with them, in a confidential way, that's you start off in your main meet, but then you create another meet for that particular student, and then you move on to that other meet, and you make sure nobody comes in. So you're meeting with that student, sort of like when you do your T-test and you meet with your administrator, right? You make sure nobody else comes into that meet so you can have those conversations. And then I overheard something about meeting with groups of students and just talk about general grouping your students based on their abilities and do just a general meet. That's wonderful too. Again, this is to fit your needs and the way your campus is working. Okay, we are a beginning blended learning campus, so we're learning, and we're probably going to tailor our conferencing a little bit different as we go on. But for now, we're doing one-on-one conferencing. That's the way we're doing. And so what you see right now in your screen, let me go to the stickies first. I want to see what you wrote on the sticky, so as we debrief, because I know you had wonderful comments. I want to acknowledge your conference. So is there a presenter for Group A that can kind of give us the gist of what Group A or Group 1 was talking about?
Yes, I'll read it.
Yes, ma'am.
So we talked about we were so different in our schools, different things that we had used, especially last year or before we had virtual learning.
Yes, ma'am.
But a lot of these you can still do, of course. The students used them to know what to choose in their stations because they knew the TEKs they needed to work on. We use them during parent conferences. So that virtually even the kids showed their trackers to their parents. Attendance tracking, of course, we've used that. One school has a beautiful digital data tracker that has all the information like in a digital binder. The students know what to work on in Imagine Math because they have the TEKS exactly, and they can choose what to work on. And for SEL and RAC lessons, also their behavior and their, was I nice to somebody today or was I kind? We've used them for that as well.
Wonderful. Good ideas. Wonderful. And good conversations. They were wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your participation and for your engagement. I'm going to move on to group number 2. Do we have a speaker for group number 2? No? Going once, going twice?
Sorry, I can go ahead and go. Oh.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Valles. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say I was having issues, so I wasn't able to go into the discussion. But I can read what is on here. Okay, so we came up with we can incorporate student data trackers to help keep students on track with iStation. I hope they talked about how it could be a great tool to monitor progress. And what I was thinking is at our campus, we actually focus on Achieve 3000. Okay. So I would like to be able to start incorporating this into my classroom with Achieve, because I feel like this is an area that I definitely need development. My kids are at this point faithfully doing their Achieve, but our conversations are lacking right now. So I definitely foresee implementing that.
Thank you. Very good. Very great ideas. Wonderful.
I would like to add to that. Sorry, that was my group. And we
Sure.
So some of the discussions that we did have aside from these sticky notes was one of the things that was a commonality in the conversations for data conferencing and trackers were the timing. There was a lot of middle school and high school examples and stuff, timing with having the time to meet with kids and do it all. But overall, we did discuss that it's whatever works for you. Your students, your classroom. If it's a campus-wide thing, like you said, you all designate that Thursday. That's always helpful. So I think just kind of figuring out the details first. But we did overall decide that once you do, make the time for this, it's really powerful for the students to know their individual data, know where they stand, and most importantly, the reason for it all, not just to get on whatever program. It's important to explain to them the reason why they're doing all of this.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for restating that. Yes. So a lot of the kids feel like it's a punishment to go on iStation, but if we point out the reason why we use the program and what it does, then kids are more apt to engage in it. And you know what? iStation has changed so much. It's gone into these characters, these middle school characters. At first, our kids were complaining. They're like, "Miss, we're not doing any work. We're playing all these games." And I was like, "No, you're not. You're actually doing a lesson." But iStation has changed. And so once they started getting into these conversations, and they saw that iStation had changed, believe it or not, our kids really like iStation now, and they know the reason why they're in there, which is more important. But thank you so much, Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Valles. Ms. Gomez, you wanted to say something. Did you want to say something? I know you unmuted. No?
Yes, sorry. And it was because I was also from Group B, so everything Ms. Gonzalez just said, I was just gonna, kind of go off of that, how we're struggling kind of with the time, but it is a good way to monitor progress. I'm with Ms. Valles at Isleta Middle, so we do base ours just on Achieve. So being so used to data trackers with iStation and then transferring that to Achieve, it has been, it's not as easy, I guess, on reports and stuff on Achieve is a little bit different than it shows on iStation. So just having that balance.
That balance is difficult sometimes. I understand. And then I want to make sure I acknowledge Group C. Do we have a presenter? Because we have about a minute for Group C or Group 3.
Ms. Rudolph, I actually accidentally filled out Group C's Post-it notes for Group B.
Oh, okay.
So I don't mind sharing a little bit more. Basically, that the middle school and high school levels are now going into Achieve 3000 for their tracking, which is great. Many teachers had already incorporated data trackers in the brick and mortar building last year, but are having that difficulty now in the virtual environment to start those conversations. And also one of the things that was mentioned is posting the data and sharing the data is one, but shifting that into application was something that they were interested in learning more about or being able to do. And an idea was to have students enter their numbers prior to conferencing, especially where you only have them 40 minutes instead of the entire day, or for different subjects, just to allow those conferences to move along rather quickly. They mentioned the planning structures. Some campuses already had planning time built in, which was really cool to hear that their teams work together to allow the teachers and the students to practice the conferencing. And of course, that iStation and Achieve 3000 establishes purpose for the students.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And you know what, with the older kids, yes, definitely. They can fill in the trackers. And now our kids, that's a great idea. Now our kids are able to fill the trackers very quickly. What you saw was the beginning process, and it does take a little bit to show them. But then after, you know, like you said, then they can fill out their own and then come back, and then you just have a conversation with them about their data. I hope I got to all the groups. I really appreciate you coming into what about, we did have a group 4. I don't know if anybody wants to really quickly, because we're running out of time. I want to make sure I acknowledge you, group D or group 4. Anything else anybody wants to state before I let you go? I don't want you to be late to your next session. We're okay? Thank you. Have a wonderful morning. I hope this was helpful. And I'm at Parkland. I'm at the park. So if you ever need anything, mrudolph@yasd.net.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Have a wonderful morning, and thank you for coming by.